All right, welcome everyone. I'm excited to introduce you to Lanny Percy of lannypercy.com. And we are here today to help encourage, inspire, and support and catch those of you that are under stress. And we're specifically speaking to people who are CEOs, whether you work for yourself or you're in corporate, wherever you are in the world. A taskmaster making things happen for other people, and you're finding yourself coming home to a system that isn't working. And that might mean that it manifests in tantrums, a huge rift between what you think should be happening and what your children feel should be happening. And so we want to tap into Lanny's experience and her insight to see if she can give us some tips or strategies or just a different perspective when you're coming home and it's not working as easily as your corporate life is working.
Thank you so much, Joshua. I was just explaining before I get interviewed quite often on lots of amazing topics, but this one, I was so excited. I just feel like it's so close to my heart because families are, well, you can't choose your family. And, I think it's something we all deeply crave, is to have a peaceful, loving, secure home where our children feel safe and that they're loved unconditionally, not conditionally. And I think that's a real issue in our society. I only love you if you get good grades. I only love you if you listen to me. So I think this is such a beautiful topic. And one that needs to be heard because we're doing our best. We know we are good people, but we parent how we were parented, and that can be a very, very, very difficult cycle to break. So I'm so honored to be here, and I'm really thankful that, I get to talk about this because it's something that every day I strive to be a present, connected, and calm parent. Now, if you were my neighbors, you'd know that I make mistakes every day, and there is definitely tears and tantrums. So it's a journey, right? Like, we just do our best, and that's all we can do.
Absolutely. And so what do you think when you have you're coming out of, say, writing a really big blog post or a podcast, and then you kind of come out of that bubble and you step into seeing your children? What is that transition like for you?
Look, I definitely separated. I used to have this vision of, like, I taught kids yoga for a long time with my little boy. He's 10 now, but he was quite young at the time. And I had this vision that we'd do classes together and it would be amazing. And it just doesn't work, in my opinion. It just really, really doesn't work. And I think having real firm boundaries, like my kids, it's morning here. I live in Australia. It's beautiful. And I'm like, Mummy's doing an interview. Do not come in the office. They're watching some TV. And I put really firm boundaries around that. Now, if they do come in, they come in. But I try really hard to kind of separate the kind of mama chief, I call it, to the mindful mama, because I tried blending it for many years and it didn't work at all. So having boundaries around, okay, I'm going to do this for an hour and then I'm going to be present with you and take you for a bike ride or whatever it is. And having those boundaries, I think, is really important. Like, I deliberately have my 4-year-old in preschool 2 days a week. And so my son comes back from school at 3:00 on those days. And that's our time that we spend. And I also have a little 7-month-old baby as well. So I try really hard to spend equal time with them all individually as well, because it can get very fragmented with 3 children. And I think that's important to have, boundaries. Like, even last night, I was sharing on social that I was doing this today, and my kids are like, Mum, get off your phone. And I'm like, okay, sorry, Mommy needs to get off her phone now. And I think it's having boundaries, so that you have the right expectation around what you can and can't achieve in a day. And your children also understand that you need to have your time and that what you're doing is really important.
And let me back you up. So when you create boundaries, but it sounds like you have figured out that the time that you spend with your children is not wrapped in guilt.
No, I don't do guilt.
Right.
Well, let me rephrase. I definitely feel it. I'm not you know, superhuman,
Right.
but I feel like it's just a unhelpful emotion if we hold on to it. So of course we're going to feel feelings of guilt and shame. I feel them all the time if I say something really mean to my children, or of course we feel these feelings, but I feel it's unhelpful to carry that around with us because it weighs us down, makes us feel really heavy, and then we're parenting from fear all the time because we're just consumed by these feelings of guilt and shame. So I try to practice guiltlessness. And like I said at the beginning, I'm doing my best. I was up 5 times last night with the baby. I'm really tired this morning. I don't want to get angry with you, but can you just get your shoes on for the 15th time, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying really hard. Please help mommy. And it doesn't always flow that way. Sometimes I am, I'm just really tired, and I am grumpy, I have to say. But something we do in our family that I really love and I've always been good at is if there's a rupture, there's an argument, there's a tantrum, and of course it happens every day, we repair that. We hug it out, we sit down, we talk about it, how could that have been handled a bit differently? Mummy's sorry. We always repair the rupture. And this is from a parenting program called The Circle of Security that I did when I was pregnant with my daughter, because I had my first child and had my business, which was really successful. And I was like, how am I going to have another child? I was quite freaked out about this. How am I going to dedicate all this time? And they shared you only have to be present 30% of the time. And I was like, oh, I can totally do that. I can totally do that, right? It's okay. You don't have to be there all the time. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be good enough for your children. That's it. Good enough. And I love that. I was like, I can do that. So we always repair. We never go to bed on an argument. Even with my husband, we're really good at move on, let it go, move on. Tomorrow's a new day.
Absolutely. So it's the ability we accept, it sounds like you and we accept guilt as a tool or an awakening moment, but it's not meant to be the solution.
No.
And that a lot of parents feel that holding it, wearing it, drowning in it, they feel like, well, this is what it's meant to do, where really you're supposed to acknowledge it and then move forward. What did I learn? What can I do different? But keep moving forward. It doesn't mark you as a bad parent. It was just
and I don't think there is such a thing as a bad parent. I mean, if you're obviously harming your children, or like there are some people who really do struggle with parenting, but in terms of I'm a good parent, I'm a bad parent, at the end of the day, we're just really trying to survive when we are working and we're wearing so many hats. And sometimes it's graceful and sometimes it's not. And I think that's life. I really do believe that, there's so much you can and can't control. And it's about focusing on what you can control. You can control yourself. You can control your own emotions, your own self-care. I mentor a lot of mums specifically, and it's really all about mummy taking care of herself. Because if you're not looking after yourself, and you're not how can you support your family? And my theory, because I went through a divorce when my little boy was almost 2, and that was a really difficult time in my life, I actually wrote my book, Mother On, because I felt so guilty about really not enjoying motherhood and about being so heartbroken and losing my connection with joy. And it was really stemmed through guilt of not feeling connected with my child. But that was an amazing example of turning that guilt and frustration and shame into, an opportunity that then's gone on to help thousands and thousands of families. So I feel guilt is useful. It's a useful emotion. If we didn't have guilt, we would definitely be really heartless and cruel.
Yes.
So we need to feel guilt. But when we hold on to it and wear it as a badge of honor, it's completely harmful to everybody around us. So I really love Marianne Williamson. I just want her to be president, by the way. So let's all vote for her, shall we? Because she's amazing. And I love her book, A Return to Love. And she talks about the Course of Miracles. And she talks about guiltlessness, that you go back to that moment in your mind and you hand it over to God or spirit or universal consciousness, or however you want to term that. And it's called atonement. And it's like you just hand it over and say, I made a mistake. Forgive me, move on. I love that so much. That's what I do. I hand it over.
So, do you find, because you also work with a lot of mothers who are starting businesses, either thinking about it, starting it, or you're helping them along, further along, do you find that successful isn't a good word, but the women who have a healthier relationship with guilt as
Yeah.
CEOs are able to manifest more peace in their parenting journey?
Oh, absolutely. It's really about about finding joy. And I think what happens with motherhood and fatherhood, and it's not just mothers that struggle with this, is there's that monotony and that kind of relentless 24/7, right? Like it's just the same thing every day, and there seems to be no break or no light at the end of the tunnel. And so you feel really resentful quite often when you've got very young children. And I think having a business or a hobby, you don't have to monetize it, that provides joy, and that provides a sense of self and wholeness. And that to me is vital. So I'm helping mothers find a way back to who they are. And that's really just a vehicle. They've created amazing things. They've created charities to help mothers with miscarriage and postnatal depression, and women's circles and birth trauma associations. And it's because what happens is when you have a baby, it cracks you open and you birth so much more than just a child, right? You birth your creativity and your purpose and your passion, and your soul lights up. So it's such a beautiful gift to be able to honor these women and show them strategy and mindset, which is all, a very holistic way of doing it. But it's not about, I can't do what I love because I need to be there for my children. It takes a village, right?
It takes a village.
It takes a village. I'm all about the kids go off and they play in the street, and, they have lots of people that look after them. And I'm like, my son, he's 10, he walked to get me coffee this morning. Mummy was tired. And it's like, I'm totally okay with him to do that. Now, I know not all neighborhoods are safe. We're very blessed where we live. But I think children need to be independent. Now, I call it free range parenting. I'm like, off you go. As long as I know where you are, it's fine. Even my 4-year-old.
If you don't,
she's really independent.
That, I'm going to back you up. When you said when you give birth to more things than just a child.
Yes.
And that you are in this world to help women kind of pull apart all those feelings, where you're convinced everything you feel and do has to do with your child. Because
yes.
There's a lot of conversations about, before I became a mother and I was a teacher, a mother said, when you have your child, you will birth the lion in you. And she says, if you hear that roar, I doubt that you will stay inside of a classroom teaching. But that was a powerful moment that most women don't have, right? That was the gift of kind of freedom, to be free range, to think and feel and follow your passions differently. And I think that really CEO parents don't have someone saying, don't feel guilty about not being stay at home. Don't feel guilty about having a nanny or an au pair. Don't feel guilty about saying, I don't want to cut my hours. What I hear you're really saying is have boundaries so that when you are present, that's a great 30%.
Yeah, exactly.
30% that your kid can count on. And maybe it'll ebb and flow, and maybe you'll have a great 50, and maybe you'll have a 15. But you know what? So will your children, right? Yeah. Because sometimes we're totally available and they're like, this is not my 30-second zone. Get out of here. Yeah. But it's the ability to be surrounded by teachers, by coaches, by friends to tell you, you can listen to your other passions, because that's what we want our children to do, and not worry about, I'm betraying my mother's love, right? So we have to start showing our children, following your passion does not betray the loyalty or the love to me. It kind of ignites me as a parent. Like, wow. That's what passion, that's what joy looks like.
Yeah, and I'm a really good part-time mom. I'm not a good full-time mom. I mean, my sister, she's amazing. She's so calm with her kids, and I'm like, how do you do that all the time? Like I'm naturally just not a calm person. I crave peace. I crave having a house that's full of love and joy, like we all do, but it's not the reality. It's just not the reality of the world we live in, because I don't know anyone who's not stressed. Like, we live in a stressful world. Even if we do yoga and we eat organic food, we have anxiety that is trauma in our body, right? We are stressed. There's nothing we can, we can't pretend that we don't live in a toxic, stressful world. And this gets fully passed on to our children, who also have anxiety. Absolutely. And so what we can do is to try our very best to take care of ourselves, so we are happy and we feel fulfilled and we can love, and this cup of love can just overflow to everybody else. Absolutely. And that's the trick, isn't it, really, is to, not feel shame and guilt around some of the things we say or do, because feel them, but then acknowledge them, be mindful about it, and move on with that. And I love reflecting on, each day, lying in bed and going, okay, this happened today. That wasn't very, didn't really say the right words. How could I move on tomorrow and maybe address that a bit differently? And I think the power of reflection is really important. Another thing that I do, like, we've had a really tough time with my little baby. He's had tongue ties and reflux and breastfeeding issues, and he hasn't really slept well at all. And he's 7 months now, so we're pretty tired. But we've had a lot of help and support. We've seen psychologists. We've been to sleep school. We have a lot of support, which is wonderful. Get help, by the way. It's no shame in that whatsoever. Get the help and support that you need. And I'm just practicing gratitude every time I hold him, because I'm so grateful that he's here. But yeah, he's been really challenging. But the more I can sit in gratitude for my children, the more I'm going to manifest more gratitude, in my life. I'm going to actually attract more things to be thankful for if I sit in a space of gratitude, as opposed to stuck in that story of, he doesn't sleep, I can't cope with 3 kids, life is really hard, I didn't want 3 kids because I didn't, he was a surprise. And there's all of the story, but that keeps you stuck in the past, which means you don't ever change your reality. So it's about projecting good vibrational high feelings of gratitude and love and compassion, so you can actually change your future.
Right. And seeing that your baby is trying his best.
Yes. And he's a baby.
The ability to see your children, in spite of their challenges or hiccups or tantrums or wild behavior, to say,
yeah,
I like to tell people they've only been on the planet for how long?
Yeah.
Trying to make sense of sounds and smells and movement, and like you're saying, and our tension and the toxicity and the stress. And so they are doing their best. So we have to slow down enough to say, wow, let me acknowledge that it's not my ideal, but it's grand. What I do is grand. And I think it leads all the way back to our title of, you create your own system. So stop trying to copy another family system, right? When you describe your sister, you're very aware, you're grateful for the mother she is, but you're not spending time trying to be the mother she is.
Yeah.
You're the mother that you feel you are in the moment, and we still strive to be better, but without guilt or shame, with absolute joy and gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been really obsessed with watching mind movies at the moment. So I'm doing a spiritual development program, and, it features Dr. Joe Dispenza and like Marianne Williamson and Greg Braden and all these amazing, neuroscientists that really talk about how the brain works and the mind. And so I've been watching mind movies because we have a movie playing in our mind all the time, right? But the movie is generally stuck in the past, and it's generally the thoughts we had yesterday and the day before and the day before, and they've come from parenting, like our parenting and our childhood, and they're really very unhelpful, most of them, and they're not even you, someone said something to you and it kind of went into your subconscious. And so this is when I teach mindfulness. I encourage people to be really aware of what they're thinking. And so when we want to change our reality, change the energy and vibration in our house, and see our children thriving, and ourselves as well, it really is about being able to elevate yourself away from those negative, low vibe feelings. And of course, meditation and mindfulness holds huge weight here. And heart coherence, which is the practice of gratitude, definitely helps to really eradicate those feelings of frustration And so I really believe that the movie I've got in my mind at the moment is My Baby Sleeps Through the Night. You know, like I'm just telling myself that I'm programming this to happen. And my older boy's got ADHD, and he really has struggled to find any kind of team sport, or he just doesn't really do sports, and that's okay. You know, we offer it. And he came home on Friday and he was so excited. They went and played soccer at another school, and he got so excited because he played the game, and he came home and he wanted soccer boots, and we were like, this is amazing. And I've been in my mind, I'm like, he's going to feel a sense of belonging. He's going to find his way. Like, he literally just turned 10 and it's like he's just changed, and we're like, oh my goodness, like this is it, you know. And it's like I've just got this story I'm telling myself that hasn't happened yet, but that's what I want. That's what I want to see. I want to see my children fitting in. I want to see, you know, like this flow happening. And so the more we can tell ourselves a positive story, the more we create that. I really believe that so much.
Absolutely. But it also sounds like you gently laid the foundation. So you offered classes, you spoke about them, and so it's that you are gently creating a structure to catch him when that interest really fell. It wasn't like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We're ready. You're activating yourself to be ready for what your child needs.
Yeah, yeah. We were so excited. We went and bought him boots, and I mean, just so lovely. And also he started doing boxing classes. He loves them. And this is the thing, it's finding what they love, not what you love.
Absolutely.
You know, like they are their own unique being. And sometimes it's hard when they're really different to you to try and understand how, like, because obviously his brain is different. And so that's taken me a long time to kind of understand what he needs, because it's different to maybe what I need. And it's very different to what my daughter needs. She's very different. And I think being in that space of, offering and encouraging and, you know, trying to showcase. So he's a really creative drawer. Like, he's amazing at drawing and writing. So I got him to enter a competition in his favorite magazine, and they published his drawings. And he was like, oh, that's so amazing. And I'm like, that's so great, right? Like, we just encourage them to do these things, and then they're the ones that feel the real joy and benefit from it, right? Wow. And I think that's all. That's just our job as mother and father, is to guide our children. We guide them. We're like a pilot. That wasn't a great choice. Let's think about how we can maybe not do that next time. Let's not draw all over the house next time. Let's get a cubby house. You can draw on the cubby house.
Oh. It's ultimately allowing your child to develop their system.
Yes.
That's not the system we wish for or that we necessarily understand, but that we open ourselves to accept it, to hear it. When he says, I want to do boxing, many people go into their mind, as you were saying, the old scripts. It's dangerous. Yeah. This is this sport. This is, and you're like, hold on, he's 10.
Yeah. And he loved it so much.
Right, but it's the ability to tell him to stop. It's from a 10-year-old point of view.
And actually for him, he has issues with feeling safe, right? And it's great for his confidence. Like, of course, he loves video games. What child doesn't? We're very strict on when he plays them. And so he's kind of in this world where, you know, he's obviously having to defend himself, you know, and I'm like, awesome. You know, if it makes you feel safe and it helps with your confidence, like, seriously, we actually have a boxing bag downstairs because my husband loves to work out. So, we've been encouraging him to actually use the boxing bag to vent his frustration for a long time. And so now he's like, okay, I'd really like to actually learn how to do it properly. We're like high-fiving each other. So again, it's, you know, he may get punched in the face, and I don't know, it's really not very resilient. But then he's like, it's okay, I'll be fine. And you go, great, you know, go. And this is the thing. I think so often we, something else I really loved about the Circle of Security parenting program is that it's all about where your kids are emotionally on a circle, right? And, you know, when you let them go off into the world and let them explore, and I'm not really that good at this. I'm not the parent where the child, you know, your 4-year-old's at the top of the climbing frame. I'm the one going, calm down, right? My husband's like, go for it, babe. Jump to the next one. And I'm like, but it's about letting them go off and explore, and not being so scared because of your own worries, right? They're going to hurt themselves, they're going to fall, it's part of life. And then allowing them to come in if they do need you, if they are feeling scared or worried or they've hurt themselves, allowing them to come back in. And it's so beautiful. It's about you being the bigger, wiser, stronger, kinder person in the situation. And I love that so much. And we all have, you know, one parent may be really good at letting them go off and explore, and the other one may be really good at bringing them back in and making them feel safe. But something we've really worked in our family is to find out what our strengths are, so we can support each other. We can be a safety net for each other, because we both get frustrated. My older boy Lael is my trigger. My younger daughter Luna is my husband's trigger, right? And we try to really support each other. If he's getting really frustrated and angry, I'm like, go punch the bag, go for a run, do whatever you need to do. And we try to really support each other, because it's just childhood trauma that we have.
Yeah.
And we don't want to project that onto our children. So I think having a conversation with your partner around, when this happens, I feel this way, can you support me in that, is really important. Because otherwise you start arguing and the child feels like the victim.
Right. And the idea that it's just a conversation. It's
yes.
not judgment. It's not,
no.
You're bad at. It's not that. It's just acknowledging
no.
Because at work you would do it.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I'm bad at this. I'm bad at that. So you hire someone that is your opposite, right? So that as a unit, you work more efficiently. And it's the same way with parenting. I hate reading books. I hate doing bath time. It doesn't mean you're not going to have to do it. It just means we're acknowledging our ebb and our flows and our strengths. Yeah. And so that you can create a system that works for everyone, but also that your children don't feel there's something wrong with me because I'm always triggering mommy, or I'm like, why do I always make daddy get upset? That's also not fair for your child. So it is our job to create a system that is really enriching and supportive of our children. So that when we do need to discipline, we have nurtured them to be able to receive that critique.
Yes.
Instead of they're just drowning in the critique, when really it's our failed system.
Yeah, and sometimes, and they definitely need their own systems as well. Like, because my little boy loves playing video games, and you know, if I accidentally, like, he has a little console that he plays, and it's like, if I leave it by his bed, he can't help but play on it, because he's addicted, right? These kids are addicted. It's like digital heroin for their brain, right? So I called him the other night, and I'm like, it's not, he's really upset. I'm like, it's not your fault, darling. I should not have left it there. I know that you can't help it. Like, it's not your fault. He was really upset with himself. And it's like, so now I know that he can play it, and I have to move it away. You know, I have to take it away, and he gets like 1 hour on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's it. You know, we're very strict with that. And it's like putting those systems and boundaries, and we need lists for him. You know, he's got ADHD. We need lists. He needs to know what he needs to do in the morning. It's a list that he can see, so he can get up and get dressed, and I don't have to ask him 50,000 times. And then with my daughter, you know, she was really needing some love and support after her little brother came. So we did this beautiful reward chart. It's like a mandala, and it's got like glitter and swirls, and it's all very beautiful. And it's got a little princess that moves around. And it's like, when she does really make great choices, we move her the princess. It's right by her bed. And again, we're encouraging her to make good choices. So she has her own system, and my son has his systems. And then, you know, we're all kind of trying to do this together, right? And I'm all about eliminating stress. You know, I'll give you an example. We always used to have this issue where they'd get their cereal and they'd pour it all over the bench and all over the floor, and it would just stress me out, right? So I ended up getting just containers which has a little thing, you open it, and only a little bit of, you know, like simple, right? Because I'm like, it's stressing me out. And so now it's like, and then they had this whole thing where they'd only eat cornflakes or rice bubbles. And I'm like, you need something more substantial, right? You need to actually eat some actual real, like, proper. So I'd mix in nuts and again, they wouldn't eat it. So I just mix it all in together so they can only get like control freak. But it's like, therefore, I know they're getting a nutritious meal. They're getting it themselves. It's not going all over the floor. The stress is gone, right?
Right. But you've realized them getting their food brings them joy, makes them feel good. And so the spilling was your issue.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally.
Completely lose it and say, no cereal in the house again, or I'm only going to pour it. You created a system that served both parties, right?
Yes,
You want them to be self-sufficient, but then you don't want them to be starving within 20 minutes because they've just had some flakes and water, right? A piddling amount of milk. And so it's the ability to, that's the 30% that we want people to have, to say like, hold on, instead of completely flipping out, just adjust. Like it's a minor adjustment that had to be made.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we can, you know, like I love the Marie Kondo, right? She's everywhere. It's all like the art of tidying up and the art of knowing where everything. And I really love that because I'm all about, you know, having a organized, calm, you know, when I open my son's drawer of clothes, I can see he can go and get his own clothes. He can see his clothes. He can see his shorts and t-shirts. And that's been really helpful for him. Otherwise he's throwing them all over the floor. And I'm like, wah! What are you doing? You know? And again, what can you do in your home that allows you to feel calmer? So, you know, I don't like mess at all. I like a calm Zen space. The kids have a corner in the lounge. They've got all their stuff there. It all goes in a basket at the end of the day and that's it. You know, like, again, it's like, how can you make your home feel like a loving home? Like, you know, and there's all feng shui and the colors that you use and all of that's really important. But again, so the kids know, like we have a trampoline, they're out there on the trampoline, burning energy or whatever they need to do. Or my daughter has a cubby house. It's like, what can we set up so they can go off and do their thing and we can go off and do our thing, you know, like, I just think it's just trial and error all the time. And it's like, and every day there's a new situation that you've never dealt with before. So then you're kind of like, okay, so what can I do now to kind of stop this happening?
Absolutely. But I think I'm going to go back to when you mentioned Marie Kondo. In America, you know, we have a stuff issue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Clutter. Yeah.
Issue. And her system and your idea of reflecting at night feels similar. I would like parents to Marie Kondo their emotions.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Let's fold the guilt into its little department. Let's
fold
happiness, success into its department. And so when something happens, because we've practiced putting things in different compartments, you're not throwing out all the emotions.
Yes.
Throwing out stress. Hold on. Like, we just need you to manage time. This is a time management problem. This isn't yelling, nagging, mama guilt. Like, hold on, you have a drawer for that. You have a skill set. And I think that's what I'm getting from you. Like, if you reflect, if you're honest about who you are, your passions, your challenges, your strengths, your weaknesses, then you come armed with a better set of tools for your family, right?
I love that.
That really ultimately is uplifting.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much because it's also teaching your children to take ownership and responsibility. And it doesn't matter if they're like little. I mean, they can still really become part of whatever you want to implement in your home. You know, they're just as much. It was really beautiful when I got the email from you. We have something we also do, which I'm very passionate about, is we have dinner together. We have dinner together unless my husband's working late or he's away, we have dinner together. And sometimes it's chaotic and sometimes they won't sit at the table and, you know, I do the whole, I've just cooked this meal for you. You know, and it just happens. And then other times it's really lovely. And, you know, we have a talking stick because we talk a lot, very loud, very like, ah. And I love it because we just go around the table and we have this little thing that we were allowed to talk. And we say lovely things like, today I helped so-and-so do a maths puzzle, or, you know, and it's really beautiful because when you give your children this opportunity to talk about their day in a, you know, child way, like what's the silliest thing that happened today or whatever, they actually say the most beautiful things. And I think sometimes when we're parenting and we're exhausted, we just don't even we don't delight in our children ever, right? Because we're just surviving. We're just trying to get them to bed so we can have a drink of wine. so we can watch Netflix. Like, we're so tired. And it's like when we give our children these opportunities by creating beautiful systems, and I learned this from women's circles. Like, I was like, this is amazing. I'm totally going to do this with my like round the table, right? Giving everyone a chance to speak, giving everyone something they want to share. It's just beautiful. And then me and my husband are like looking at our daughter going, oh my God, she's so beautiful. That's an opportunity for us to connect. That's an opportunity for her to shine. We're all laughing about something silly my son did. And I just think that is so simple and it's so beautiful. So we always have dinner together and we talk and we share whatever it is that we want to share. And that to me is a beautiful system that creates love and laughter and growth and connection. It might only be for 3 minutes till they start running around, but
Yes, absolutely.
you got your 30%.
Bing!
Yeah, I got it.
I get it.
And then it's cute because like last night my sister's like, we actually went out for dinner and she was like, oh, I wish we had the talking stick. And I was like, it's so cute, in a restaurant. Here, use the salt shaker. It's just cute, and I think that finding the flecks of gold in parenting.
Absolutely.
It's hard sometimes and you're so tired and you're just really not feeling it. It's like, look for those moments because they're always there, but we just don't see them.
They're always there. I think all of us with young children have the sit down, we're eating, why are you moving, where are you going, stop drinking so much, da, 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 da. And there is a golden moment. Someone says something sweet, someone smiles, you get that pure eye contact.
Yeah.
Or do something mischievous. But there are those moments. And so I think both of us agree it feels complicated.
Yeah.
But it's simple. Like shoot a little lower. And I think that's
no expectations at all.
For the CEOs, right?
Yeah.
They are alphas. They always strive for perfection.
It's control. That's what I've discovered.
It's control. And to realize that children, parenting perfection is connection and it looks different.
Yes. Attention is connection.
Different.
Yeah. Yeah. We often say to our kids, like, what do you need? Like my daughter's gone through a whole bedwetting phase and, it's all connected to the little brother arriving and, and it's kind of like she just needs more love. She just needs more encouragement. Yes, it's frustrating having to wash all the sheets. But again, I went and got like a proper little bedwetting thing. So you only have to wash the full sheet on the top because I was like, no more washing. But again, it's just encouraging her to, like she's been great lately. But it's like whenever I feel like I read this great thing the other day because, when your kids say they have tummy ache, like, and you're like, did you eat something? And it's actually anxiety. If your kids are saying they have tummy ache a lot, it's actually because they're worried and they don't know how to verbalize that. And I was like, oh my God. So now, of course, she's like, I'm like, are you worried about something? And she'll come up with this fabricated story. And I'm like, it's okay, darling. Like, but again, I think, how do you know that? Kids talk in subtitles. Like, right? They don't actually tell you what they're feeling. And I think by reading articles that are relevant to you online, by listening to podcasts, we're always learning as parents. And sometimes you'll read something and you'll be like, oh, I get that now. Like they're not sick, they're just worried about something.
Yes.
It's like, okay, so then you can have that conversation like, it's okay, darling. Or, my son is often worried about the future. And I'm like, darling, it hasn't happened yet. Why are you worrying about something that hasn't happened? And then kids have anxiety about crazy things. And it's kind of understanding like what their worries are, because quite often it's what your worries are as well.
Yes, but just in a smaller version, right? So it's the ability to slow down and hear what they're saying. Not very it's not articulated well, and it's not heard. But if you do slow down, you start to connect the dots, right? The stomach ache is happening before these events, or the stomach ache is happening after she plays with so-and-so, or right after I breastfeed. And so you start to say, okay, I don't need to fix her. I just need to understand her. And the
Yes.
understanding will then lead eventually to a solution, right?
Yeah.
That fits and feels right. And it doesn't mean she won't feel anxious. It just
Yes.
means she'll have words to express it, and you'll be able to catch her more effectively when it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I have loved talking to you.
It's been amazing.
So happy we connected.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I guess it's nighttime. You must be so tired.
No, I'm midday. I'm 3 o'clock.
Oh, midday. Great. Okay. That's so great.
But my littles are occupied as well, so I could really focus.
Oh, yay. I love that. I know. Thank goodness for, I think they're watching The Nutcracker, which is that new Disney movie. It's so awesome.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited. I can't wait to share this. And me and my husband actually, so we've both had quite a journey with our little baby Phoenix, and we've both had seen psychologists because the mental load's just been really intense. You know, he works full time, and I had to just surrender my business for a while just to be really present. But we're so passionate now about wanting to create a program for parents, because, you know, he actually shared his struggles on LinkedIn, and he had so many messages of dads saying, hey, I totally felt this when my kids were born. And, you know, there's no outlet, there's nowhere to share when you have mental health challenges, right? Especially in the corporate world. Absolutely. And so we're really passionate now about creating something for working parents, you know, how mum and dad can connect, you know, how kids can thrive, and using, you know, all the tools we use, which is, you know, mindfulness and self-awareness and gratitude and all these, they're just so profound, these practices. So if there's anything that you've heard today that you resonate with, I just encourage you to try it. You know, like I love tapping, EFT, which releases emotion from your body. I mean, there's so many different tools out there, but if you find something that works for you, you know, don't just do it when times are tough, do it continuously. You know, this is the practice of any kind of spiritual path. We don't just pray to God when we need him in that, you know, like, please get my baby to sleep right now. Right. I'm like all the time, please let him find his, you know, flow, right? It's like, it's a constant prayer. It's not just like, help me right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's the act of, learning to have also your soul's rhythm, right?
Yes.
Like, so you can't be so extreme. Like prayer, meditation teaches you to find center, be closer to center.
Yes. And you know what, however that flows for you. The more I find myself connecting with spirit, the more I feel supported, and then I'm not doing it on my own. And I think something I've really struggled with is just that sense of absolute abandonment and loneliness, and that surrender of all the things you love. And I think when you have a baby and you are working in that corporate space and you've been very successful, it is so much harder to adjust because the baby's completely out of your control.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and my babies have been so different, totally different. And it's like, I still have no idea what I'm doing because they're all so different. They have completely different needs, completely different ages. And it's like, you're just kind of winging it, doing your best. That's my parenting advice.
So we will, below this, we'll link to your site and your Facebook. Your book, Mother Om, is on Amazon.
Yeah.
And yes, so you guys can contact me if you can't contact Leonie, and as soon as her program is up and running, I would love to share the news.
Yes, we shall see how that flows. We feel really, it's funny, we've always said we'd work together, but we could never quite work out how, you know. It's kind of like he's in a very corporate space, and, you know, I'm not in that space. I've got my own business, you know, and so it's really exciting. We feel really good about it. So keep dreaming about it being on stage, you know, like sharing our wisdom. So see what happens. I'm good at manifesting. I'm very good at that. So I manifested this conversation.
That's why the world gifted you your reflexy baby.
Yeah.
There, you will work together.
I know, and I knew all the way through. Like, even when I was like totally borderline. I don't think I was depressed, but I was very depleted. Right, postnatal depletion is such a thing. And I knew that we would come out of it and that we would see the light, because the same happened with my divorce. I went through my divorce and it was really, 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 really challenging. But then I wrote my book, and then I created my business, and then I met my, husband now. And, like, it's just this beautiful flow, but I had to go through that, right? I had to go through that time to get to where I am now. So even when you're in that time of absolute challenge, it's temporary, it will pass. It's just guiding you to your soul and your truth, and something really magical will come out of it. And I knew that would happen. And of course, now we're like, wow, this is so exciting. We're going to create a program together. Love that. Amazing.
All right. Well, I look forward to it. And
thank you so much
for making the time.
Thank you. My absolute pleasure. Thank you. Bye.